Good day, everyone. We are the Group 8, the last reporter for these finals. For today, we will discuss the topic on Lesson 11 about environmental crisis and sustainable development. Learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to first discuss the origins and manifestations of global environmental crisis. Second, relate everyday encounters with pollution, global warming, desertification, ozone depletion, and many other with a larger picture of environmental degradation. And last, examine the policies and programs of governments around the world that address the environmental crisis. In this lesson, we have 5 topics to be discussed. The first one is the world's leading environmental problems that will be discussed by Prabilinyanto. And the second one is the man-made pollution that will be discussed by Vivienne Joyce Egar. The third one is the catching up that will be discussed by Erica Soriao. And the fourth one is the climate change that will be discussed by Elaine Viola. And the last one is the combating global warming that will be discussed by Marigil Perez. In this lesson, the first topic was the world's leading environmental problems that will be discussed by Prabilinyanto. The Conserve Energy Future website listed the following environmental challenges that the world faces today. The first problem was the depredation caused by the industrial and the transportation toxins and plastics in the ground, and the filling of the sea, rivers, and waterbeds by oil spills and acid rain, the dumping of the urban waste. The second problem was the challenges in weather patterns, flash floods, snowstorms, and the spread of deserts, and the surge in ocean and land temperatures leading to a rise in sea level, as the polar ice caps melt because of the weather, plus the flooding of many lowlands area across the world. So, habang tumatagal, yung mga nangyayari sa atin is mas lumalala dahil na rin sa nangyayaring climate change sa ating mundo. Tulad na lamang ng mga landslide tuwing may bagyo, sa sobrang pagbaha, at kung ano-ano pa. Overpopulation. This is one of the problems faced by our country. Yearly, our population are increased by numbers. That's why areas to live was limited or running out. So, some of our agricultural sites are sacrificed because we need to build a new subdivisions to put more houses to have more family to live in a formal way. Overpopulation have also a factors. First, early pregnancy. Next is not having a family planning. And the last one is the sexual violence. Fourth problem was the exhaustion of world's natural non-renewable resources to minerals, to oil reserves, and to potable water. So, kapag nawala ito, hindi na ito mai-restore. Talagang ubos na ito. And, ang mga products ng non-renewable resources ay malaki ang naitutulong sa atin, lalong-lalo na sa transportasyon dahil ang gasolina ay isa sa nagpapa-andar na ating mga sasakyan na kung saan mas napapadali ang ating pagpunta sa pupuntahan nang hindi na tayo maglalakad. The fifth problem was a waste disposal due to excessive amount of waste from plastic to food packages to electronic waste unloaded by the community in landfills as well as on the ocean, and the dumping of nuclear waste. The destruction of million-year ecosystem and loss of biodiversity. So, ang common dito is yung forests at oceans. Sa oceans, yung mga coral reefs ay nasisira. Dahil na rin sa kapabayaan at ginagawang illegal na aktibidad ng mga tao. So, para makakahuli sila ng marami, ginagawa nila yung dynamite fishing. Marami silang huli, pero nasira yung tirahan ng mga isda. So, imbes na makakahuli pa sila sa susunod, hindi na kasi wala nang pangingitlogan yung mga isda. The next one is yung deforestation. Na best example is yung nangyari sa Amazon na maraming hayop yun na wala ng tirahan. And also, sa illegal na pagputol din ng mga puno, nawawalan din ng tirahan yung mga hayop, and nawawalan sila ng pagkukunan ng mga pagkain nila or sa way of living din nila. The reduction of oxygen and increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, ang cause nito ay yung deforestation at mga pagpuputol ng mga puno na nagiging cause ng pagtaas ng ocean acidity. So, nagkakaroon ng pagtaas ng carbon dioxide dahil na rin sa overpopulation. And, kukunti na lang yung mga puno na nagre-release ng oxygen. The depletion of ozone layer. So, ang ozone layer is malaki ang karakter sa ating buhay dahil kung wala ito, sobrang init ng ating paligid dito sa Earth. And kung wala ito, hindi tayo mapoprotektahan sa isang radiation na kung tawagin ay ultraviolet rays. Nasira ang ozone layer dahil na rin sa gas na tinatawag na CFC or chlorofluorocarbon na matatagpuan sa mga aerosols and sa mga appliances tulad na lang ng aircon at ng refrigerator. Kung hindi natin ito malilimitahan ay mas masisira palalo ang ating ozone layer. So, the next one is the deadly acid rain. So, isa sa mga reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng deadly acid rain is yung mga nag-e-erupt na volcanoes. Sunod is yung fossil combustion. And the last is the rotting vegetables filling up garbage dumps or left on the streets. Water pollution and community waste residue. So, dito papasok yung hindi pagtapon ng maayos ng basura. Na pati sa dagat nakakita tayo ng basura. Na nagiging cause ng pagkamatay ng mga yamang tubig. Dahil lason ito para sa kanila. At in the other way, nagiging madumi yung tubig na mamaho. Kaya nakakakuha din tayo ng mga sakit. Urban sprawl. So, dito papasok yung sa pagpapadevelop natin ng ating bansa, mas kailangan natin mag-build ng mga buildings para sa mga bagong businesses na itatayo, and mas kailangan natin maging urbanized. So, dahil sa pagpapaganda natin na ito at pag-develop, meron din itong masamang dulot dahil na isa-sacrifice natin yung mga agricultural lands na nakaka-apekto sa sources natin, tulad na lang sa bigas, source natin sa bigas. Nawawalan tayo ng nababawasan yung ating mga farmlands dahil kino-convert natin ito as a buildings, subdivisions, and many more. So, the last one is the pandemics and other threats to public health. So, dito na papasok yung sinasabi natin na health is wealth dahil kapag health na yung pinag-uusapan, marami nang naapektuhan. Di lang pansarili kundi panlahatan. So, best example dito is yung COVID-19 dahil dito hanggang ngayon nasa MGCQ pa rin tayo. So, dahil sa COVID-19, yung survival of living ng mga tao is mas humirap dahil nawalan sila ng pagkakakitaan na pantustos sa pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan. And about naman sa development ng ating bansa is tumigil din siya kasi nga dahil na rin sa sakit na lumalaganap dito sa ating bansa. Yung bagsik ni COVID-19 is hindi lang dito sa Pinas na ranasan kundi pati sa ibang bansa. So that's all for my topic. So we may now proceed to the next topic, which is the man-made pollution.
Good afternoon, I'm Vivian Joyce Agar and I will be reporting the topic man-made pollution. So basically, man-made pollution is a byproduct of humans. It causes diseases, threatens human health, and it also damages the ecosystem. So it does not only affect humans, but also all of the other living things here on planet Earth. For example, it also affects plants and animals. So it damages ecosystem. Parang katulad ng hole sa ating ozone layer. Di ba, butas na nga siya. Then, yung UVB, which is the ultraviolet rays, parang nag-reach na siya dito sa surface natin directly. So, masama kasi yun sa balat natin. At pwede siyang mag-cause ng mga skin diseases. So, this type of pollution, yung man-made pollution, is from the consumption, waste disposal, industrial product, transportation, energy generation, and more. We have several types of man-made pollution. So first, we have air pollution. Air pollution occurs when harmful chemicals are presented or introduced into the atmosphere. So nakukuha yung air pollution sa paggamit natin ng vehicles, yung mga usok na nanggagaling doon, tapos galing rin sa factories, tapos yung iba galing naman sa pagsunog natin ng mga plastics. So, alam naman natin na yung usok nun is nakaka-apekto sa atmosphere natin. So, yun ang sinasabi ko kanina na nakakabutas ng ozone layer. Second, we have water pollution. Water pollution occurs when bodies of water are being contaminated by harmful chemicals and the improper waste disposal. So, ito naman, yung sa water pollution, nakukuha natin ito madalas sa mga basura na tinatapon natin kung saan-saan lang, lalo na yung mga basura na hindi agad nawawala tulad ng plastics. Yung lumulutang-lutang lang siya tapos kahit ilang decades yung lumipas, andyan pa rin siya. So, nakaka-pollute siya ng mga bodies of water katulad ng mga ilog, ng mga dagat, ganyan. Kasi hindi nga siya nawawala kaagad. So, isa pa, yung pagtapon natin ng mga wastes natin, ng mga basura natin sa dagat is harmful din para sa mga living things na naandun. Katulad ng sa mga isda, tapos sa mga sea turtles. Yung mga sea turtles kasi natin is, alam naman natin na nakakakain sila ng mga plastics kasi di ba akala nila, ang tingin nila sa plastics ay food nila, akala nila na pagkakamalan nilang pagkain yun. So, nakakain nila kaya nagkakos din yun ng death nila or injuries, ganyan. Tapos, yung iba naman, yung ibang living things tulad ng mga isda is namamatay sila sa harmful chemicals na nai-introduce sa tubig. So, the next man-made pollution is the soil pollution. This occurs when chemicals leach into the soil and it leads to contamination. This is a great problem, especially in our agricultural needs. So, minsan kasi, merong mga harmful chemicals na spill din sa soil tapos sinisip yun ng soil natin which leads to contamination. So, dun na nangyayari yung minsan hindi nabubuhay yung crops sa soil kaya parang nawawalan tayo ng pwedeng pagtaniman kasi yung ibang soil nagiging sobrang taas ng pH level niya, nagiging acidic siya. That's why walang nabubuhay ng mga crops doon. So lastly, the radioactive pollution. This is the improper waste disposal of nuclear waste and radioactive contamination can last for decades. So para sa akin, ito yung isa sa pinaka-harmful na pollution kasi matagal rin siyang mawala tapos nagko-contribute siya ng great health risk factors. Katulad ng chronic illnesses such as cancer at minsan sudden death pa when exposed to this pollution. So the next slide are the examples of pollution around the world. In Saudi Arabia, the sandstorms combine with combustion, exhaust from traffic, and industrial waste. Riyadh is declared as one of the most polluted cities in the world. This human contribution has become the immediate cause of worry. 20% of China's soil is contaminated due to the coal fumes that comes out from the industries. This causes the rice lands of Hunan and Suzhou to be a threat in their food supply. So ito na nga yung sinasabi ko kanina sa soil pollution. Yung nagiging contaminated yung soils nila gawa nga ng harmful chemicals. So, hindi na sila nakakapagtanim doon. Next, on 2015, air pollution in Greenpeace India was at its worst, aggravated by the Indian government's inadequate monitoring system. There are only 17 national air quality networks covering 89 cities across the continent. 94% of Nigeria's population is exposed to air pollution that the World Health Organization warned as reaching dangerous levels. 7th most polluted country, Botswana, emits aerosols and other gases from car exhaust, burning of wood or garbage, indoor cooking, and diesel-fueled electric generators and petrochemical plants are projected to quadruple by 2030. Tailings from Shanxi Mangzhou ecological mining in China produces 12,000 tons of gold per year, which causes pollution and safety problems. China have become very critical because of the rapid production of toxic byproducts. So dito sa slide na to is meron tayong examples ng air pollution and soil pollution. Katulad ng sa Nigeria and sa Botswana na air pollution yung problema nila. So yung air nila is sobrang contaminated na to the point na nag-warn na yung World Health Organization kasi nare-reach na yung dangerous levels. So, high risk health factor kasi, di ba, ang ini-inhale kasi nilang hangin is sobrang contaminated na, nakaka-damage kasi ng lungs yung sobrang contaminated na air. So, isa pa dito is yung soil pollution sa Shanxi Mangzhou sa China. So, yung soils nila, gawa ng mining, ay nagiging polluted na and damage na. So, hindi na rin siya safe sa health ng mga tao. Tapos, syempre kapag may mining, sobrang delikado na rin siya kapag mayroong earthquake kasi nagiging mahina na yung lupa. So, the next slide is another set of examples of pollution from around the world. In 2006, 160 acres of land in Shenma, China was badly poisoned by cadmium, which led to the death of 2 people and 150 people were poisoned. This results to the abandonment of the village. In Metro Manila, urban environmental problems and threats of climate change are also pronounced. 37% of its population lives in slum areas are affected due to their hazardous locations. Poor air pollution, solid waste management, weak disaster risk management, and limiting coping strategies of households. Buses are also one of the largest contributors to environmental pollution problems worldwide. According to the Center for Science and Environment in Delhi, two-wheelers is staggering 75% to 80% of the traffics in most Asian countries. Motorbikes, for example, burns oil and gasoline and emits more smoke, carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, and particulate matter than the gas-only four-stroke motorbikes. Marife Ballesteros concludes that the unhealthy environment deepens poverty, increases the vulnerability of both poor and non-poor living in slums, and excludes the slum poor of growth. So that would be all for the topic man-made pollution. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Suriao, and I will be reporting the subtopic, which is entitled Catching Up. So let us start. So government believe that for their countries to become fully developed, they must be industrialized, urbanized, and inhabit by a robust middle class to be the best modern amenities. So meaning, ang navivision ng mga government para masabi mo na fully developed ang isang country is binubuo ito ng mga middle class, which is merong mga trabaho, employed na mga tao, at saka lugar kung saan ang mga nakatira dito sa isang country is merong comfort na natatanggap, convenience sa kanila, at saka enjoyment. So, paano na lamang ba kung ang isang bansa is merong environmental problem? So, the United States was the ideal modern society until 1970. Pero hindi nito na-reach yung high point kasi nga meron silang problema sa environment nila. So the desire to develop and improve the standard of living of their citizens. This country will opt for the goals of the economic growth and cheap energy would turn into a courage energy overconsumption, waste, and inefficiency, and also fuel environmental pollution. So, dito na pumapasok yung quote na lahat ng sobra is bawal. So, para matustusan yung pangangailangan ng isang country, kailangan nila kumuha ng sobra-sobrang sources sa environment, which is mali kasi nga 'di ba ang pagkakaroon ng sobrang supply ng mga resources ay pumapasok at nakakadagdag sa environmental problem natin. So, these extractive economies, however, their resources, which will eventually be depleted, are also the source of pollution. So, lahat ng tinitake natin for granted, such as our home, not to mention the countless daily activities, often involve extensive resource use and results in a greenfield land being paid for. So, lahat is may consequence. Lahat ng bawal at sumusobra is may consequence. Kaya siguro nagkakaroon tayo ng shortage. So this issue begs the question, how is environmental sustainability ensured while simultaneously addressing the development needs of the poor countries? So paano na lamang ba mag-develop ng isang poor country ang kanilang bansa kung sila ay kinukulang na sa mga environmental resources na kailangan nila para lamang magkaroon ng maayos na pamumuhay at masabing develop ang kanilang.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, classmates. I'm the third discussant, and I'm Elaine Viola, with the topic of climate change. From the previous topics, my classmates already tackled about the environmental problems that the world faces today and the different man-made pollution that also affect the states and the world. Now we will learn how some of these crises happens and when does it started. Governments have their own environmental problems to deal with, but these states' ecological concerns become worldwide due to global warming which transcends national boundaries. Ang mga gobyerno may kanya-kanya yung mga problema pagdating sa environment, pero dahil nga sa global warming, nagiging pangmalawakan ng problemang ito. To understand climate change, let's talk about first the term global warming. So what is global warming? Global warming is the results of billions of tons of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is colorless gas and it occurs naturally in the Earth's atmosphere. These billions of tons of carbon dioxide comes from the coal-burning power plants. Coal-burning power plants is a thermal power station which burns coal to generate electricity, and transportation such as such as planes, trains, and cars, various air pollutants such as nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, and sulfur dioxide, and other gases accumulating in the atmosphere. So these pollutants trap the sun's radiation, causing the warming of the Earth's surface. With the current amount of carbon dioxide and other gases, this greenhouse effect has speed up the rise in the world temperature. So, yung mga pollutants na yun na binanggit ko kanina, yun yung mga nagtatrap ng radiation ng sun. And yun yung nagkukos kung bakit umiinit yung surface ng Earth. At ang tawag sa process na yun ay greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect yung tawag dun sa pag-trap ng radiation ng sun. And dahil nga sa sobrang daming carbon dioxide and other gases sa environment, yun ang nagpapataas ng temperature ng mundo o yung temperatura natin. There is now a consensus that the global temperature has risen at a faster rate in the last 50 years and it continues to go up. So, anong kinalaman ni greenhouse effect sa climate change? So, let's differentiate first the climate and weather. Climate, ito yung weather of a specific region, average over a long period of time, and weather refers to short-term atmospheric conditions that can change hour to hour or day to day. So, ibig sabihin yung weather, ito yung panahon na pwedeng today tag-init, tas bukas tag-ulan, tas the next day tag-init na naman ulit. And yung climate, ito yung kunwari sa isang buong taon, sobrang mainit or sa isang buong taon ay laging umuulan. Ganun yung climate. So, the greenhouse effect is responsible for recurring heat waves and long droughts in certain places, as well as for heavier rainfall and devastating hurricanes and typhoons in others. Heat waves, ito yung prolonged period of abnormally hot weather. So, laging tag-init. Tapos, yung drought, yung prolonged period of abnormally low rainfall, leading to shortage of water. So, ito naman yung tagtuyot, yung wala talagang rainfall or tag-ulan na nagli-lead sa kakulangan ng tubig. And, ang greenhouse effect din daw yung responsible sa heavier rainfall and hurricanes and typhoons. So, what is the difference between hurricanes and typhoons? Well, basically, they are all the same thing but are given different names depending on where they appear. Hurricanes are tropical storms formed over the North Atlantic Ocean and Northeast Pacific, while typhoon are formed over the Northwest Pacific Ocean. That's why sa Pilipinas tinatawag natin yung mga bagyo na typhoons, while on American countries, it is called hurricanes. Until recently, California had experienced its worst water shortage in 1,200 years due to global warming. So, ang California na-experience nila yung sobrang kakulangan ng tubig dahil lang sa global warming. This changed recently when storms brought rain in the drought-striking areas. The result, however, is that the state is having some of its worst flash floods in the 21st century. So, yung kakulangan nila ng tubig, nagbago yun nung nagkaroon ng storm doon sa area na yun at nagdala ng ulan doon sa mga tagtuyot na mga lugar. Kaso, ang result naman nun, nagkaroon sila ng worst flash floods sa area na yun. Dahil nga sa global warming, nararanasan sa bawat parte ng mundo ang mga nabanggit ko tulad ng heat waves, droughts, heavy rainfall, typhoons, at hindi lang yon, pati na rin ang flash flood, thunderstorms, tornado, at tsunami sa ibang mga lugar at iba pa. Lahat ng mga disastrous events na ito ay nangyayari dahil sa pagbabago sa climate na dulot ng global warming. In India and Southeast Asia, global warming altered the summer monsoon patterns, leading to flooding that seriously affected food production and consumption as well as infrastructure networks. So, yung summer monsoon patterns, it is associated with heavy rainfall. It usually happens between April and September. So, ito yung matinding pag-uulan. Here in the Philippines, April is already considered a summer month, and last month is the month of April, but we still experience the heavy rainfall brought by Typhoon Bising, and that's because of altering in the monsoon patterns. And dahil dito, naapektuhan nito yung food production kung saan tulad ng mga palay nasisira or pati yung production ng gulay at saka mga prutas, ganon. Tapos pati ang mga buildings ay seriously affected during kapag may mga bagyo na dumadating. Dito sa Pilipinas, marami tayong na-experience na malalakas na mga bagyo. And even scientists claim that there will be more of such typhoons in the coming years. In the eastern United States, the number of storms had also gone up, with Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and Hurricane Sandy in 2012 being the worst. Glaciers are melting every year since 2002, with Antarctica losing 134 billion metric of ice. Ganun kadaming ice yung nawawala sa Antarctica dahil lang sa global warming or sa climate change. There is a coastal flooding not only in the United States eastern seaboard but also in the Gulf of Mexico. So, in conclusion, yung nararanasan nating climate change ngayon are mostly human-made din. Human-made climate change, yun din mismo yung nagtathreaten sa mundo natin. Hindi man natin aminin sa sarili natin, pero may mga bagay tayong ginawa at ginagawa na sumisira sa inang kalikasan. Ang simpleng pagtapon ng plastic ng candy sa gilid ng kalsada, pagtapon ng basura ng mali at di maayos sa basurahan, pagsunog ng mga plastic, kahit isa o dalawang beses mo lang ginawa sa milyon-milyong naninirahang tao sa mundo. Sapat na yon para unti-unting masira ang mundo, at ito ang isang pinakamalaking pagkakamali ng mga tao. So, ibig sabihin, mostly tayo din yung may kasalanan sa kung ano ang nangyayari sa mundo. And it is possibly the greatest present risk to humankind. So, dapat nasa atin din yung pagbabago, because that's the only way for us to save the world and to save ourselves. Thank you, and the next reporter will be Mary Gail Perez, and ang topic niya is all about combating global warming. So, i-explain niya kung paano natin or ano yung strategy or mitigation na pwede natin gawin para ma-solusyonan ang global warming.
Combating global warming. In 1997, 192 countries signed the Kyoto Protocol to reduce greenhouse gases, following the 1992 United Nations Earth Summit, where a framework convention for climate change was finalized. The Kyoto Protocol sets some targets, pero ibinigay na sa mga individual countries ang power para malaman kung ano ba talaga ang gagawin ng bawat bansa to achieve that goals. So, those countries are making an effort to solve the problem, pero ang United States ay hindi gumagawa ng effort about it, considering na sila yung biggest polluter in the world. However, may mga developing countries din naman na hindi makapag-implement ng Kyoto Protocol is because they lack of funds. That is why they need an international aid to get things moving. When it comes to international funds, syempre, ang World Bank ang responsible dyan. Kaya, kinunclude ng World Bank na ang Kyoto Protocol ay may slight impact on reducing global emissions because it is a non-binding nature agreement. The next agreement they made is the Paris Accord.
negotiated by 195 countries in December of 2015. The Paris Accord seeks to limit the increase in the global average temperature based on the targeted goals recommended by the scientists. Unlike the Kyoto Protocol, which has predetermined carbon dioxide emission limits per country, it provides more leeway. Ibig sabihin, that country has the freedom to take actions or to change plans on their own way for countries to decide on their national targets. Actually, this treaty emphasizes consensus building. Ibig sabihin, you make an effort to gain the interests of the important groups or stakeholders to get the unanimous decision. Kaya, na-consider din itong treaty na ito as international legislation. Pero, hindi clear sa treaty na ito kung mas successful ba siya kesa sa Kyoto Protocol. Social movements have had better success working together with some pressure on their governments to regulate global warming. These social movements or organizations have their own goals too. So these goals, however, they might carry out, resist, or undo change. Halimbawa dito sa Pilipinas, mayroon din naman tayong mga iba't ibang environmental movements like Save Philippine Seas, which focuses on the coastal and marine resources. Itong environmental movement na ito ay gumagawa sila ng workshops, awareness campaigns to educate and encourage people to participate in conservation activities and projects nila. Universities also collaborate with governments in producing attainable programs of controlling pollution. The University of Chicago's Energy Policy Institute sent teams to India to work with government offices, businesses, and communities in coming up with viable ground-level projects that strike a balance between urgently needed economic growth and improved air quality. So if we take a look on it, kapag ang local alliances between state, school, and communities ng bawat bansa ay ginaya at the national level, the success will doubly significant. Halimbawa sa Japan. Since ang Japan ay mas populated kesa sa Pilipinas, the government there are forced to work with the civil societies, schools, and political parties to get a lot of laws. At isa na din dito yung pollution diet of 1970. Ang law na ito ay hindi talaga para sa pag-eliminate ng environmental problems. But now, Japan has some of the least polluted cities in the world. The imperative now is for everyone to set up these kinds of coalitions on a global scale. Bakit? Dahil kung ang ating gobyerno at mga international organizations ay hindi fully committed sa pagresolba ng issue na ito, dapat tayo ng mga nasa academies, civil society groups, and communities ang magkaisa. And in that way, we can reverse the worsening situation. Top 5 major environmental problems in the Philippines. Number 1, pollution. Pollution in context is the introduction of contaminants into the environment causing adverse change. It is present through noise, air, and water. So halimbawa sa noise. As we produce noise, it can interfere the behaviors of the animals in the ecosystem. Also, the sound waves that turns into heat can add a slight change in the temperature of our environment. As for the air, we have the air pollution, which is very common in urban places. Also, the smoke belching vehicles and gases from factories. And last, kapag naman nagtapon tayo ng mga basura sa katubigan natin, it can cause water pollution and it might affect the marine life. Next is emission of greenhouse gases. The more people in a certain area, the bigger carbon dioxide are emitted into the environment. As these gases are produced, it generates heat causing a change in the climate. So, alam naman natin na lahat ng ginagawa natin sa pang-araw-araw is nakakapag-emit din tayo ng greenhouse gas. Halimbawa nun ay yung paggamit ng electricity, pagluluto, and driving cars. So, kapag marami tayong gumagamit doon or kung marami tayong gumagawa ng ganong bagay sa isang lugar, maaaring makapag-produce tayo ng carbon dioxide, magkakaroon tayo ng mataas na chance sa pag-produce ng carbon dioxide, which generates heat, and it can cause climate change. Overpopulation also means having more garbage to dispose. So, tama naman yun, kasi kapag sa isang lugar ay overpopulated, sunod-sunod na din yung pag-increase nito sa ibang bagay. Like, dadami yung mga kabahayan, business establishments, commercial buildings, and tataas din yung mga demands natin sa electricity, food, and other necessities ng tao. Kaya, may chance na dadami yung mapuproduce natin ng mga basura. And, if that place cannot cope up with the situation effectively, this will mean that poor waste management will strain to the condition of our environment. Natural resources depletion. Mining and quarrying has become rampant over the years and are to be blamed for destroying the beauty of our environment. Among the natural resources that we have, water, oil, and forests are the top 3 on the list. So, mining and quarrying are the ones to blame for destroying our environment kasi maapektuhan nito yung natural resources natin. At kapag naapektuhan yung natural resources natin, maaaring magkaroon tayo ng shortage o kaya naman makakaranas tayo ng mga natural disasters like flash floods and landslides. And last, waste disposal. Improper waste disposal creates a hazardous problem to everyone. It may infect people not only physically but also through air and water. Halimbawa, kapag nagtapon tayo ng basura sa mga kanal, maaaring maharangan nito yung waterways. Clogged waterways can also cause flash floods, and it can also invite rodents o yung mga daga, which carries various diseases, and it might transfer to us. So we have here the major environmental laws in the Philippines. We have RA 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. The law ensures proper segregation, collection, storage, treatment, and disposal of solid waste. Next is RA 9275 or the Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004. The law aims to protect the country's water bodies from pollution from land-based sources. Third is the RA 8749 or the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999. The law aims to achieve and maintain clean air that meets the National Air Quality Guidelines. Next is RA 6969 or the Toxic Substances, Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990. The law aims to regulate, restrict, or prohibit the importation, manufacture, processing, sale, distribution, use, and disposal of chemical substances. And for the last, we have Presidential Decree 1586 or the Environmental Impact Statement or EIS of 1978. With the enactment of Presidential Decree number 1586, it facilitates the attainment and maintenance of rational and orderly balance between socio-economic development and environmental protection. So this presidential decree is the forefront or the most important law in environmental protection. Kasi ito yung ginagamit ng DENR to protect our environment despite the increasing demand of natural resources and development. Thank you so much for listening.